Okay.
No,
Well,
dude, you made Top Gun like everybody.
welcome to the Cougar Land podcast. I'm here with the infamous, the famous Cary Stokes, otherwise known as Monty Stokes Jr. It's good
My
to see
life,
you.
I've been Monty's little brother.
So you were a Vicenza guy, and then I know I was talking to your brothers, like, you got to talk to my brother because how we all run into different people. And he was telling me that you ran into Cavoli one day. Tell me a little bit about that story, how that intermingled with.
I think it was Aviano or something. He was a young punk making his way up in the chain now. He was already well established, and we were just doing jumps in the back. I was a C-130 guy, and he was jumping out the back, or
Oh, yeah.
his boys were. So that was a long time ago. I had forgotten all about it until Monty brought it back up, but. I just remember running, hey, there's a name from my past. And I just told Monty because that was his friend. I mean, I was younger, so didn't have much contact with Chris and Jim Cavoli.
But he just walked into your cabin where you were flying, like, hey, what's up? Vicenza Cougar? What's that?
In the back, and since he was kind of running the show as usual, I mean, his name was being said around the other officers and the other pilots and stuff, saying he's in charge. So, and then I think I saw his name badge, Cavoli. I said, "Are you any relation, Vicenza?" So it's a small world, man, when you get to going with it. And Monty running into Ted Spittle, was a name I hadn't heard. And Monty and Ted, I guess, weren't real close back in the day. That I didn't know who Monty hung out with since I was 4 years younger than he was.
Yeah, you were like a year older than me, I think.
Yeah, I was going through the old yearbook, believe it or not, and for some reason I couldn't find you.
What grade did you leave? What year?
I left at the end of 8th grade because we moved to Belgium for 9th grade. Monty went off to college, and my dad got PCS to NATO headquarters.
So that would have been my freshman year. Yeah.
Yeah, but the yearbook had us in there. It had 85 and class of 86 in it. And oddly, I have these yearbooks here.
Yeah, I think I missed the photo shoot. I was too busy modeling in Milano that year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Living it up as a young man already.
They're like, hey, you're so handsome. No time for yearbooks. So you only take pictures if you're getting paid.
I've never had that issue. Never had that problem. So
it's a horrible thing. I'm making it up as I go. If I can add more BS to it, I will. But so.
Are you sure you're not a pilot? Because that's all we talk is 10% truth. That's all it has to be. So,
there was quite a few flyers from Vicenza. I don't know if you knew Barry Pinicky. He was actually there around your time.
I know I was just going through it. He was one of the names I know very well. So, but where's he flying?
I think he's flying. He's a captain at Spirit Airlines.
No kidding.
Yeah. So it's like you're up in the air and you don't realize, oh, there's probably my alumni up here. I mean, it kind of at this age, you start realizing if somebody joined the military, they're probably a general or an admiral. One of your classmates is actually an admiral. Yvette Gonzalez.
We know Yvette very well, and I was talking to Monty about it. Yvette, Xavier, Diane, and Diana has reached out, and we made contact just last week because of your podcast. All this has been going on. It's been rehashing a bunch of names. That's why I think it's very cool that you're doing this, because it has reinvigorated the idea of getting us all back together. But Diane's doing great. I mean, she was over in Kuwait at the time, and she just got apparently some special ops guys or something. She said she was working out with her, trying to kill her in 109-degree temperature.
Oh, they're making her do some serious PT, huh?
She was always a serious athlete anyway, though. But
yeah,
Yvette, I mean, Yvette, even back, I think I told you the other day on the phone that even back in 8th grade, Yvette was 4'2". But when she walked in the room, she kind of commanded the room when she did it. She was always that neat girl. She had a strong personality. And then here she is, an admiral and married a Navy SEAL. I think that's even cooler. It just doesn't surprise me a bit that's who she is.
Yeah, her husband's a stud, man. There's a video of him like running that O course or whatever that is. You see it. There's one on YouTube. He's like climbing that. He's just flying through that thing like it's easy. Like
just showing off, whatever. I don't show off my skills.
right. Like, look, here's my husband. He's amazing. I mean, me being a Navy guy, I can really appreciate it. I used to work out with the SEALs, and it takes about a month and a half if you haven't trained to be able to complete their workout, if you're fit, if you're a good athletic person to begin with. Most people don't even make it. So it's crazy when you look at what you're required to do in boot camp. Maybe a couple hundred push-ups a day, but just to work out with them, we do 1,000 or 1,200, and 1,000 of everything: squats, belly busters, burpees, you name it. And,
I
and it's
heard with
1,000. It's a 10 times.
That's insane what those guys do, and I have a lot of respect for those guys. But you can't say that to their face; they get a big old head about it, So
Oh, back in the day, they had some attitude about it. I think things have changed, and it's interesting. A lot of them have become internet podcast celebrities too, because people, they're very curious. The allure of the special forces, what makes these people so interesting. But you got to be like a serious, like if you didn't go into like college football or baseball or some major sport, going in special forces is like almost Olympic level training at some things that they do. It's very abstract though. It's not as linear as I'm going to be a famous power ice skater and have super huge quads. It's like I got to climb trees, I got to run, I got to nap. You got to think and work out and run and handle duress at the same time. But I'm sure your pilot.
yeah.
How intense was your pilot training? I mean, sure that was like a lot of math and calculations and
Yeah,
you know.
well, it was, pilot training was a year of intense stuff, but it was that was fun. I mean, because you were completely focused on it, and you were with these same guys and gals, for a year solid. So 6 days a week, you're hitting the books pretty hard, and that one day, that seventh day, when God rested, you had fun.
So you guys only had like one day of liberty on one day of just getting out of the town.
We made our moments, kind of thing. But if you weren't focused on it, it became harder. But it was okay. It was all good.
Well, that's the thing. Anything that requires like the maximum intelligence, because the military is known for cramming 2 or 3 or 4 years of college into a year training program, a 9-month program. I mean, it's like we're going to send you here and do all of this. Was it something you knew you were going to do in high school, or was it something that, like
That,
you
that,
said,
that's funny because I didn't remember writing it, but my mother would keep everything. She was French and she was a hoarder kind of thing. And years later, in fact, just probably 8 years ago, she brought up a letter to me that I wrote when I was in Italy in eighth grade. Eighth grade, no, I was 10 years old, so fifth grade. And apparently it said I'm gonna do 20 years in the Air Force, and I'm gonna fly in the Air Force, and then I want to go fly commercial airlines. When I was 10 years old, I never remember writing that at all. But she
wow,
figured it and put it in a thing. So apparently I had that at the back of my psyche somewhere. That's what I want to do. So yes, I did want to fly, and that's all I ever really pursued. I mean, I started flying at 16. My mom and dad didn't even know I was going down to the local airport and paying for an hour here, an hour there for my job at Hardee's that I was working when I got back to the United States. So
wow, that's pretty cool. It's kind of interesting to know. Like I asked some people, did you know this is what you were going to do? And it's like I asked Diane Del Rosso the same thing because she's high up, accomplished executive and a brigadier general, and she was like, no, I just knew I wanted to make a dent in the world. And I'm like, well, that's cool. So she didn't have a specific, she just kept accomplishing and it just kept happening. But she kept showing up. She kept showing up basically.
she's one
You
of
know?
those people. And Yvette, Catherine Offer was the same way, who was brilliant. They were brilliant in eighth grade when we left, kind of thing. But and you said on another podcast that we were more mature than most kids growing up, kind of thing. We had to mature quicker, I guess, because of the environment we were in. But all these ladies, they walked into a room and dude, they just whatever it was, they were competitive, they were aggressive at it, and they did the best. They didn't want to be second, kind of thing. And that was I was looking at some old names. Barry was not quite as competitive as that, but he was a always great guy. And that was Xavier. When you brought up Xavier, and when I looked him up, he's a general. Xavier Brunson was I mean, of all the guys I've met in my life, he's probably the nicest guy I've ever met. He was always so caring, giving, all stuff. And I was like, general in the Army. I would not have pictured that. I get it because he was always competitive and wanted to be there. But all these guys, and that's what I was saying. That's why I was always around them, I guess, because they pushed me.
Oh
You know,
yeah, you're going to get that osmosis. Your whole class pretty dynamic now that you're mentioning it. I mean, I was in the Boy Scouts with Xavier. I think we shared a tent one time, and it was him and another guy. Can't recall the face. Norman Wimpy was nearby. He went on to become, I believe, a special forces guy. Now he works for the government. And so this little group of Boy Scouts, it was gonna Boy Scouts and also your grade, your female classmates, super duper, you know. But Xavier, I remember him talking, and I don't remember the conversation, but he was so forward thinking, strategic, like a chess player, like at eighth grade or seventh grade, talking like somebody who's thinking 10 steps ahead, not like a regular kid talking about, yeah, man, I got a new BMX bike, I'm going to jump a ramp. He was way ahead.
Yeah.
So
Well, it
it's
kind of had
no
to.
wonder, no wonder, go ahead.
He was like Javi and Tavi. I remember his twin brothers. I don't know why I remember all these years later. I think they're 4, 5, 6 years younger than he was, but he was always taking care of them. He was so responsible for them, and that's why I guess that he matured a whole lot faster, because he was almost not playing a dad, but I mean he was a big brother and he took it very, very serious about it, kind of thing. So,
Well,
but I was looking through these names too. Paul Ratcliffe. Have you heard that name or anything about him?
yeah, I just did a podcast with them.
Did you? Oh,
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
It's going to be coming out. It's going to be coming out in like a week. Yeah.
Where is he at nowadays?
Paul, so you've got John and Paul. Paul is over in Louisville in Kentucky.
Yeah.
And then John is over in Arizona, Fort Huachuca.
For some reason, I heard about John Ratcliffe. He was an engineer, back to work at Caserma, Italy, as an engineer years later. How I heard that, I have no idea. But that was a long time ago. Never heard anything about Paul. That dude was sharp too. He was always on top of things. He was an athlete, and I'd be real curious to find out what he did.
I think he owns a keychain factory in Kentucky. I'm joking.
Yeah. He's an entrepreneur. That's cool.
That's right. I didn't even push what he did. He works for some big company. I think he mentions it in the podcast. I do know John became an engineer. It's like, what are you going to be when you grow up? And it's funny, you talk about writing down your goals and what you're going to be. So my mom would have me do that too. And mine was detective, astronaut, and jewel thief after I watched the Pink Panther. I wanted to be a good thief. I was never into stealing, but I liked the idea of climbing around in a ninja outfit and getting the Pink Panther diamond for some reason. Because that guy seemed to be having a great life, but I never really rose to that occasion,
Well, I'm glad you didn't.
So yeah.
Talking to you.
So I can still do the podcast here, right? So were you in Boy Scouts there or no?
Yeah, I did it for, I think, a short period of time. And I think we ended up leaving before I could really progress on it, because that was the end of the 8th grade year I did it.
Because I think, was Xavier there when you were doing Boy Scouts, if you can recall, or it's...
I don't remember who was all in it, but I mean, he would have been, yes, because we were the same age and same grade and everything. So he probably is the one who got me into it, to tell you the truth.
It might have been you in the tent. Who knows? Jim.
Never forget.
Did you ever go camping up in the mountains or down by that?
Yeah, I remember having the big old flashlight and everything and running around the woods. Yeah, we did. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, we would go wait like 8 miles away from, or it seemed like 8 miles away. Probably wasn't that far. Everything seemed like multiply it by whatever. It's 1.5 miles off the side of the road, but it feels like a 20-mile hike. Yeah, those were cool. We had those. We would get out and we'd get to go do a little survival training. What do you do in case of a flash flood? How do you build an emergency shelter? And there's a saying that the Boy Scouts will actually raise you to a level. Most people that go there succeed well in life because you have that be prepared motto. Sure. So that may be the common thing,
It might be. I don't know. Yvette and Diane,
they were not in the Boy Scouts. They were like, we ain't get time for that. We're already successful. We're just going to the top. I talked to her. She's great. Diane, I talked to Yvette briefly. Haven't talked to her much in probably like a year or so, but I was trying to meet up with her for lunch when she was in San Diego because I was in the Navy. So it's kind of cool to me to want to go visit that, right? And you're Air Force, I'm presuming. Right?
Is there any other? I know you keep talking about this Navy thing, but yeah, Air Force. That's who I was.
Yeah.
Was there another branch anywhere?
There was the Navy. No, let me tell you about the Navy.
Is she still in San Diego? Do you know where?
I think she may be stationed in Washington because of her husband's job, so she may be stationed there. But even regardless, like at that level of rank, they could both be stationed two other places because they need them. They're big decision makers or shot callers, you know. Um,
Well, I'm
but yeah,
hoping with all this, with all that you're doing here and everything else, I hope this really evolves into, a gathering somewhere of all the old names and faces that want to get together. Uh, I think we all should recommend one person to do the next podcast and then put on to you. So you've already been turned on to Yvette and Diana, but you need to hit Catherine Offer. I think she'd be real interesting to talk to.
what is Captain Offer? The name
She's a lawyer in Atlanta somewhere. I connected with her about 18 years ago or something, but we never had the opportunity to hook up for lunch or dinner or something. But she's a pretty busy girl, but she was always a fantastic person in Italy, along with all the rest of the classmates, obviously. But she was one that you knew she was going to do well somewhere. She was always smart, always caring about everybody else. So I think it'd be fun to find out what's going on with her life.
It's interesting. You're around people in Vicenza and you know they're going somewhere. But part of that's because you're already doing something. You're living in Italy, you're learning another language, you're experiencing things that people that maybe grew up in the States aspire to do when they're 50. Like now that I've got my 401k and my retirement from the city, I'm going to go to Italy. We're like, nah, you got to do it young, man. You know, I mean, what were some of your favorite things that you used to like to do back in Italy, back in Vicenza?
Oh my gosh. I mean, we were eighth grade, so I didn't have all the party stores that I've heard you talk about and everything else, and in Milan and everything else. But I did meet an art dealer from Milan in Dakar, Senegal, when I was working in the Air Force, but which was interesting by the poolside
Yeah.
with the clothing that was being optionally worn at the time. But he was fantastic. And it's funny, I moved here about 2.5 years ago on the lake in Alabama and was unpacking some old stuff and found my old leather jacket from 130 days. And her card was still in my pocket from that trip way back when.
Oh my goodness.
I haven't worn that jacket in 20 something years, it
It was
was still.
like, oh, I was supposed to call. Oh,
Yeah,
I misread the vibe. No, 30 years later. Oh yeah.
she was clear. Clear on the vibe. There was no. I was married, but and I don't play that game, so.
No, it's all good. You're like, thank you for the compliment. This will be a trophy. Another business card handed to me 20 years ago. But
I just remember the people though. I mean, hanging out with it was always we were always together because we didn't have American TV, we didn't have anything else, social media, phones, and all that stuff, and we were always together. Whatever we were doing. I mean, just sitting around talking was fun, and so
that was the podcast. That was the podcast.
That's right. Early version of the podcast. That's right.
Well, that it was your. I said this before. It's your rap. It's where your stories and you want to share your stories. Everyone's throwing in their story in the pot, kind of like that old child's tale of stone soup, where everybody throws something into it to get the flavor. And we had to get creative to entertain ourselves because there's only so much you can do with a paddle ball behind your house in Villaggio, or a frisbee. That gets the.
You were allowed to live in Villaggio since you were Army. We weren't. So
I wasn't. No. I was. My dad was a GS, so we lived off post.
That's right.
Yeah.
I heard you talk about. I didn't know your dad was a Marine.
Yeah, he was a captain. He was a captain in the Marines. Yeah.
See, I never knew that.
Yeah, which was interesting.
What's he doing nowadays?
Oh, he's actually passed on about 19 years ago, but it's
I never knew about that. Sorry.
Well, that's the thing. I know, and I'll say that to somebody too. I'm not tripping on that. It's like people, oh, I didn't know because it's been so long, right? Like we haven't been checking off our list. A lot of life has happened between now and then, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, he stayed there. He stayed there till about late 90s, and then he came back to the States. So it was like he was there quite a long time. My mother and my father were there for many, many, many years. And
I ran into your father actually in '91. I went back when I graduated pilot training, February '91, and I went straight to Germany for my first assignment for 3 years. And the first time off I had, I went back to Vicenza to check out the old school and everything else with my wife. And who do I run into? We were in the queues or something, and I'm trying to get a room, and there was your dad in front of me. And that was 91, 92 time frame.
Yeah.
And, he didn't remember me, and I heard the name when he checked in, or he was giving his name for something. I don't know what he was doing, and I said, "Oh my God, I should say hi," but he won't remember me, so I didn't say nothing to him.
Well, you should have. He would have remembered you.
No, he remembered Monty. I was just coming into PE classes in the 8th grade and stuff like that. So
So, I mean, in Italy, how far from Post did you live? Do you remember? I mean, it's not like,
yeah, it
is
was a
it?
bicycle ride. So it was probably 5, 6 miles, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly, around there that we ride every day, and about 4 miles from Villaggio della Pace, and so it was bicycle everything. We didn't have the moped, couldn't afford it, so we didn't have the Vespas and the mopeds and all that stuff, and we weren't cool enough. But it was an amazing time. And you were talking about teachers and stuff, and but that trip I saw your dad, I went to go visit. My whole purpose was to see Mr. Benante.
Oh, yeah.
You remember him at all?
Oh, yeah. He was
That dude
great.
shaped a good portion of my life, and a lot of us. And I mean, because that class, I just remember, man, you didn't speak unless spoken to. You didn't do anything unless he addressed you, kind of thing. And but he'd give you the shirt off his back, and he was this larger than life character to me, back in the day. Went back to visit him. Here I'm a young butterbar, a second lieutenant. I go say hi to him, and these kids are running around in his classroom, and I was Mr. Benante. What in the world? Well, the first thing was he remembered me, which
Hmm.
was, I don't know if it was all for show or what, but he started saying things that only he could remember. I was like, I don't know how you remember me or any of us, kind of thing, 20 years later. But things had changed, but he was still there, and he was the same monolith that I remember way back in the day. He was just a huge man that shaped a lot of us, kind of thing. But yeah, I wish I could let him know that, I never let him know that. I mean, we're just talking to him, but he was a big part of my life.
Did you, I think he's still around, actually. That's what I heard, and somebody talking about that. He was a great guy. I really liked him. He was my teacher, too. Did you go to class in the snow? Did you go on the ski trips?
Yeah, we talked about that the other day, and absolutely the best 2 weeks of our lives, right?
Right? I mean, that was the class in the snow thing was, that's special. Like you and only a very small handful of people in the world ever experienced that. You were like, you're there as a kid, like, oh, they must have class in the snow at every other high school. They have class in the snow in Alabama. No, they don't. You don't realize till later.
We did there. We got to the States, and I went to inner city school, Kansas City, which was my father's high school, but he didn't know it had deteriorated quite a bit. These kids could barely read, and I said it facetiously, but it was a whole different experience. The class in the snow, we didn't have a baseball team because they couldn't afford a baseball field. We're going to class in the snow skiing for 2 weeks, and I was like, it was a different world.
You're kind of in this like Euro preppy kind of environment. Whether you were a full-fledged preppy guy or not, doesn't matter. You were still getting that European culture. And it's always, I'm sure you've experienced this too. You come back to the States and you hear some, upwardly mobile, successful people. Yes. And then I went to Venezia and I rode the gondolier, me and the gondola, we rode and rode through Venice. And, and that's when Jacques bought the fancy wine. We're like, yeah, I did all that shit. Did it like, it's like, yeah, I went to the 7-Eleven too,
But
Yep.
people always ask me, where I was from and everything. And it's odd because, Monty and I are half French. My mother's French. But, I was born in Stuttgart, Germany, when my dad was stationed there and then went under the army post. We grew up in Italy. So I always laugh at, yeah, I'm half French, born in Italy, born in Germany and, raised in Italy. Kansas City, Missouri is where I'm from.
Yeah.
And they kind of look at me odd,
Like a human Swiss Army knife of experiences. Are you a spoon fork? Yeah, you're.
But I never thought of it as anything different until everybody made it different because they've never done it. It was just natural for us, it was just normal. That was our normal, I guess.
Oh, how was it adjusting to the States after being in Europe?
Dude, that was a crazy. Yeah, I've heard you talk about that too in the podcast. That was a crazy readjustment. The funny thing was, being around Catherine Offer and Yvette and everything else, you always wanted to study hard and because they always got the best grades everywhere. So you had to work to keep up with them. You got back to Kansas City and I'd take my books home and to study and all my friends that I'd met. What are you doing? So what do you mean? What am I doing? Taking my books home. I said, why? Like they didn't study, and got a 4.0 all the way through high school and it was absolutely unprepared for college. Thankfully, I knew I wanted to fly and had to work around that. But the inner city school was tough. It was a different experience than DOD school in Vicenza, Italy.
The standard of education was probably half or less. And it's not being arrogant, but that's what I noticed when I went to Kentucky. They'd have pushed me up 3 grades and I was already, not even performing where I was at in Vicenza.
Well, because you had people like Mr. Benante, your father, Pallarito and Crowley, to this day, Mr. Crowley was the one who got me interested in computers way back when, though I didn't prove it getting onto this Zoom website with you, but inner city took that out of me kind of thing. But those teachers made a big impact, and that was a big deal. It wasn't the school, it was the people that filled it kind of thing, those teachers.
Yeah, you had a team there. I mean, you were definitely, and also the teacher to student ratio, the advantage they've proven over time. Smaller school is, more teacher to student ratio usually ends up in more highly productive students. But also, I mean, if you're going to take a history class, when we're talking about the Renaissance, you're going to get in a bus and go look at it in 3D
When
and,
you
go see the stuff.
going to Florence for your school trip and everything else, and then Venice for the day, and who says that?
It's true. It's like the thing for me is I was there since I was 5. So I'd see people coming and going like, I guess like the air traffic controller. You're the pilot. Everybody's coming and going and I'm watching them, and then, oh, there's a familiar voice. He's back from Atlanta. Okay, whatever. But that's what it was like watching people coming and going. So you see that other people just grew up in one place and the song remained the same for a long time through all 12 years. Not a lot of new students in that school,
Yeah.
and that's a different experience than what we did. We were globetrotters.
And it's kind of why this makes it special, because we had nothing else. We were dependent on each other, and made us all tight. I know Monty and his friends were to have Richard Collins come visit last month here from Italy. He goes through Miami and Verona quite a bit, and it was a blast seeing him again. I hadn't seen him for a long time, but he and Monty connect all the time. And those friendships are, if you don't understand them, you'll never understand them. But those friendships are important like that, and pretty cool. And Richard, by the way, I haven't watched the full podcast yet, but he's a cool dude, ain't he?
Yeah, he's great. I like him. I ran into him as one of the first people I ran into when I came to the States, and then I didn't run into any other Vicenza people for a long, long time. So I was like, oh, he's here. I wonder who else is here. But, a lot of people kind of let off where their parents get stationed last, whether it be Fort Bragg or something like that, or somewhere in Texas, if they're in the Air Force, right? That's where they would kind of like, okay, I'll start a job here, or I'll go to college in this town. Or, if they were focused on a certain university or they were going to become an officer, then where they went anyways. So I don't know. I mean, you were doing everything to get out of Kansas, it sounds like to me.
Missouri, yeah, I can't say that. And it wasn't so much get out of that. I knew I was going to fly, and it was going to be the military. I didn't have any ties really anywhere. And my wife, I've been married 25 years last month, matter of fact.
Congrats.
Yeah, she's a cool ass chick. Oh, can I say ass on her?
Yeah. Say more of that. No,
I married my sugar mama way back when. She's a physician. She's a doctor. And
nice.
We met, matter of fact, I was teaching pilot training. And she was married to an Ole Miss football player. I was married to somebody else. And we both got divorced years prior. And we were living on single quarters across the street from each other in Columbus, Mississippi. Never thought in a million years, Mississippi State. My son goes there. That's why I'm wearing the shirt.
Right on.
He's a senior at Mississippi State, but I never thought in a million years Mississippi. What? Next I meet a girl. My son's born in Tupelo. I was like, oh my gosh, now I got a footprint in Mississippi somewhere.
Yeah.
But and she's awesome. We had no ties. We ended up in Talladega, Alabama. Have no ties here at all. We were just looking for fresh water and checked out a bunch of different places and ended up in rural country, Alabama, which come visit, man. You'll love it. Get rid of that salt water out of your system. You'll love it.
Well, it's close to where I'm going this weekend. I'm going out to Asheville and over in North Carolina, right there on the border near you guys. So we're going to do that and hit the Outer Banks. Kind of a thing just to see. It's like checking because my wife had an offer there, but we also have one here. And I've been in California since '87. It's been hard to replace California. California is a beautiful place, but it's also so expensive that it's like someone talking to you from Monte Carlo. Oh, come here. The soda is only, huh? Good.
Just talking about the cost of living drives me crazy in San Diego or in San Francisco and everything. Because I'm there quite a bit. Matter of fact, as I told you, we should, Southwest goes in and out all the time.
Oh, for sure.
But love to have dinner with you and your wife some night. That'd be a lot of fun.
Oh, that'd be great. Definitely do that. Like, what are your layovers? Do they usually keep you over there on the peninsula, over by the
They,
Loft and all those
they do.
places?
They do. It's well, I can look that up, matter of fact. But the Southwest isn't. They're not crazy big on the overnight, so they're 12 hours is a long overnight to them, but 12 to 15 hours is normally what we do. Let's see, San Francisco. Let me tell you where we stay.
Yeah, it's quick turnaround, I would presume, with that airline.
It usually is. Yeah, we do the Holiday Inn Bayside, Sheridan, and Marina, and the Wyndham Bayside.
Okay.
No, that's not. I'm sorry, that's San Diego. DoubleTree, Marriott Airport Waterfront, and the Hyatt Regency or the Hilton Airport Bayfront.
Yeah, I like the Marriott. It's nice. Get that place up walkway right by the water out back.
It does. That's where we go running.
That's a good little place. But it's like, what is it like being a pilot, man? I mean, when I'm riding, there was a passenger. I'm like, but I mean, how long does it take to get used to it? It's like I could probably take you to sea, and you'd be like worn out at the same kind of way a passenger is on a boat.
No,
After all.
I've always been a crappy passenger. I've never been good in the back seat. So I've always wanted to be in the front. And I've never been a cubicle guy. I can't do the same thing over and over. I guess my ADD kicks in, whatever you want to call it. But
Yeah.
every day is different. You can fly the same route, every day back and forth, and every leg is different. And that's the fun about it. Plus the view.
Yeah.
So I enjoy every day going to it. That's why they've offered these early outs. And I'm 53, and they were offering get paid for 5 years to stay at home right now with all this COVID stuff going on. And a lot of guys were taking it. And I said, I'm not ready to pack it up yet. I still love what I do.
Right.
And how to describe it? It's different every day.
Well, it's like being a military brat. I mean, I've moved a whole bunch of times in my life, and I'm ready to move again, and I'll keep moving. Because why? Because that's who I am.
Yeah.
And you get used to that. At first, when you're young, when I was living in Italy, we didn't have a house in the States. My parents had sold the house we had. I was kind of like, geez, I wish I could have a house in a locked down place like all those people. I know we're only renting here in Italy, and it's my dad's stationed here. It's not like where we're born, right? So then I get back to the States, join the Navy, travel everywhere, and I get used to this Rolling Stone gathers no moss kind of lifestyle. And, I've owned houses and stuff in the past. And the thing is, it's like now I don't even feel motivated to do that. I just want to be mobile.
Yeah.
And part of it's the COVID thing. It's like, okay, this place is turning to crap. That's okay. We have no ties. Go. How about here? How about there? And just globetrot. But you can't globetrot right now. My wife and I did consider going over to Croatia, though, just for a visit.
In a different capacity, but been there, done that.
Yeah. Was it Cold War times or after?
It was I was the number 2 airplane in Bosnia in Sarajevo when it all kicked off, and have pictures on day 2 when we were there, and then a year and a half later, the countryside, and completely you wouldn't even recognize it a year and a half later after all that was going on. So it was we were delivering food and supplies, every day, every night, to that area. But my 15 minutes in the sunlight was Peter Jennings, before he passed away. I picked him up in Croatia. Matter of fact, they diverted me from Aviano to go fly to Croatia to pick up a medevac crew, and we were on a different mission. And he got on the airplane. And he's got carte blanche.
Yeah.
See, he's a liberal reporter from Canada. He doesn't have carte blanche on my airplane, but I'll do it. But he got on. And,
What's it all about? What's it about? Yeah.
Fantastic. He was a fantastic man. He didn't get in our way. He was very concerned, very caring, and I had a whole newfound respect for him. But we had a long day that day, and we got back to Rhein-Main or Ramstein about 2 a.m. He wanted to do a live broadcast to the States, with the pilot and, what happened, how the mission go, all that stuff. And I said, man, it was a 12-hour day. We were beat. And I said, hey, my navigator's available. I said, I got too much to do right now. I apologize. And I regret that to this day, not making that interview, but we just had too much going on. And he never interviewed the navigator. He didn't want to talk to him. So it wasn't
it's okay. Well,
But
I think my my other classmate was over there. He definitely was in that theater. Kevin Merritt, he joined the Air Force. He became a C-5 flight crew engineer. So I think at that point he was doing that, either C-5 or C-130s at the time. So who knows? You guys probably passed each other. You get another Vicenza guy in your background, like I talk about, shadows ships in the night kind of, oh, there goes the Vicenza Cougar, you know.
I guarantee I ran across them because they came through Rhine Mine where we closed Rhine Mine in '94. But when Gulf or Desert Storm was going on, the C5s came through Rhine Mine. They staged through us, and we worked those planes for them, just processing the paperwork and shuffle them, tell them where to go and all that stuff. But I guarantee I ran into him if he was a C5 guy because they all came through us.
Yeah, that's
great. You would love it. One of our flight attendants, matter of fact, he and his wife are from Croatia, and the countryside's amazing. It's beautiful. The water's the bluest I've ever seen. At the time, it wasn't the most fun when I was there, but the countryside and the country itself is outrageous. It's beautiful.
It is very beautiful. Yeah, yeah. It's like, I like Spain, but Croatia's even cheaper.
Without doubt. Yeah.
I think it's funny. I don't know why this abstract thought came to me. I'm just like looking at videos popping up on my YouTube. I'm like, oh, these pickup artists go to Croatia. So these guys like trying to use all these tricks to meet women and all this stuff and wear funny hats or whatever they were doing. And they go there and they just get blown out because all the Croatian men are just a bunch of big alpha male studs. And the women are like, what are you offering me? Did you just sneak in here from the comic book convention? You're trying to deal with, we had nothing but Fonzies up in here, Richie Cunningham. Get lost.
Unfortunately, I never got to see the social aspect of Croatia. So just the visual side. But it'd been fun to go visit.
It's interesting to see how things change. Like, my wife's Russian from Siberia, but I was also in the military during the Cold War. But I wasn't looking for her. It's like, you get all this stuff like, oh, these people, and then you meet them and you're like, wow, they're amazing. Probably just like those attendants after going through this whole the Bosnia thing.
Absolutely.
Like, well, these are great people. Yeah, I get to see the other side of it, right?
But I don't know if I can move. I'll show you why I think I'm planted here for a little while, but am I allowed to move and do this?
Yeah.
I'll show you
Take us for the look.
Well, I was just going to show you my backdrop, why we picked this. And so hopefully you and your wife and whoever else is watching come visit.
Oh, for sure.
So
I've been to Kansas, by the way. Great place.
It's flat.
Oh, look it. Kansas looks so different. I'm kidding.
This is Talladega, Alabama.
Beautiful.
I don't know if you can see me or not. We'll just use that as a backdrop from here.
I like that. So it's like, waterfront property.
It's
affordable. You're like, wow, it's affordable, right?
Well, we looked at Atlanta for a long time and wouldn't touch this house in Atlanta anywhere. Plus, they're not 10 foot from the next guy. It's just Atlanta and Georgia was being overpopulated, too many people, and I like the slower pace right now.
Well, big cities, they kind of become. You see it as a pilot. You've been flying everywhere. You see like all the Californians running to Austin, clogging up the highway. Or you see certain areas like Atlanta was getting really hot, and certain places it just the sprawl. California went through that with the high tech boom, right? So
the urban sprawl was horrible. We live 46 miles north of Atlanta in Cumming, Georgia, and it was a 2-lane highway. It's now 6-lane highway up there and growing past our little town. To get to the airport, it took me 46 minutes or 2.5 hours, and you never knew which. That's how busy it was all the time. 2 a.m, busy. It was crazy.
I was originally born in New Hampshire, and that's a beautiful place if you want to escape from everything, because there's woods and lakes and woods and hills and ponds and, and just nature, and it's just not all built out. They're not going to chop down all those trees. The trees outnumber the sprawl, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But that's what this seems like, kind of like you get your own setup there. And you get to go boating, or you're into sailing with your brother and Rich?
No, he's invited me, but my wife's wasn't too fond of that idea. She thought being cooped up, but she hasn't experienced it. I think she had a lot of fun, but it was just trying to get both of our schedules online to do that. Since she's still working, I'm still working. I thought when I married my sugar mama way back when, I'd be done working by now.
Yeah.
But something happened. I don't know why I'm still working, but
you misread the vibe. Honey, how about a Corvette? She's like,
I misread the tea leaves, right?
Yeah, she's like, how about a Corvette? How about one? Go get one with your own money. Wait. But I thought,
no, I'm a pickup guy. I'm a country boy pickup guy. That's what I drive.
Yeah.
I've been threatening to buy a Porsche for a lot of years just because I was born in Stuttgart, the home of Porsche, but I've never pulled the trigger.
I wanted one really bad. I wrote down my goal was to have a black Porsche turbo. And when I finally made enough money to purchase one, I looked at it, and I'm a big guy. I'm like, 6'2", 260 pounds. I'm like, I ain't gonna fit in this little thing. I
Yeah.
need I need like a I need a Cadillac. I need something big. I need a big Mercedes sedan. I can't handle this little, it's like I used to like the 300Z when they were out in the early 90s and I had one. And then the 350 comes out. I go, oh, I'm going to try this. It's going to be a cooler, more modern version. I could not fit in that car. I was too tall, and I was like, damn it. I go, guess it's not meant to be. It's kind of like the Miata. It's never going to happen.
Younger man's game nowadays, though. I'd rather just take my pickup truck.
Well, I mean, if you're on a budget, just get a Miata used and put a Firehawk on the hood and let people know what time it is. Maybe a spoiler, and some spinner wheels. And you'll be somebody then.
Cool. I'm just not that cool.
Not me either, but
Yeah.
So
I want to know how the podcast went with Paul Ratcliffe.
oh, it's good to see them. It's quite a. I think we did a good amount of time, but we talked mostly about basketball because that's what they were known for, and a couple basketball players that they were dedicated to the basketball. For me, I was like dedicated to the beer garden and the discos and the. I was like, what are you guys playing basketball for? There's so much room for activities over here. But that's what they love to do. And my dad loved them because those were two of his little shining stars. My dad loved to coach as much as they loved to play basketball. So it was a great fit.
Now, are you finding these, since I'm not a big Facebook guy, are you finding everybody through Facebook, or how are you getting these addresses and stuff? Are we
Facebook was my little skip trace initially, yeah. But then some people, like don't come on. So John brought his brother. Some people don't want to be on social media. And that's understandable. But, I think when we grew up, everybody was afraid of Big Brother. 1984, George Orwell, Big Brother will see your life. Ironically, in the book, Big Brother was not like everybody volunteered for the big eyeball that was watching. It was like, oh my gosh, a camera. I can't wait to be on here. Take more pictures of me. And it became a mechanism of social acceptance by how many likes and how many views you got, right? Yeah. And it's like, I think there was retail therapy for a while when the real estate market was booming about in the early 2000s. People were refinancing, buying Cadillacs, buying all kinds of stuff they didn't need. And then they got into social media, and that became the new thing, the new outlet, social acceptance in mass quantities. But ironically, you could be feeling all jazzed about yourself, and it's a bunch of robots out of India that are just liking your page. They're like, I'm somebody now. But it's not like when we grew up, social acceptance was just having good friends on the naturally aspirated reality, actual reality.
That's the only reason why I got on it was for my son, and he was on it, and we keep up with him every once in a while to see what he's doing. But he's like he says, only the old folks use Facebook now. The youngins don't use it, so we don't. I don't have much contact with Facebook, but that's how I found Diane. I guess how we reconnected. But I've been trying to find some other names and just can't. I don't know maiden or married names now. Like Catherine Offer, I can't seem to find her again.
She'll pop up through our large network of people that have seen people.
Yeah, I hope you organize this somehow. Send us out a newsletter or something. With all addresses.
Well, we'll start the day at the lake thing with you and your brother.
It's open. Monty's got a bigger house on the lake, so.
Well, you're like I only have a small mansion, but he has a palace. Okay, well, like who lives near you is Derek Gould. Teddy Spittle lives near you, relatively.
Where's Teddy live?
I think Virginia.
I thought he was in D.C.
I thought he lives in Virginia.
That might be Virginia. I know Diane's in Virginia too, I think, she said.
Yeah, and then you have a ton of people in Carolinas. Ton. Because, Fort Bragg, right?
Yeah.
A lot of airborne people from that school. So I ran a thing where everybody said that where they lived in the United States, the map, and it's pretty much every state now, including the islands, including Hawaii and Guam. So it's
find a way to reconnect with these guys. But when we get off with this, if you have Paul's info, if you could shoot that to me, that'd be awesome. I love to
Oh,
read.
for sure, for sure. So you knew Paul pretty well. I got his brother John. Um, I had him come on the Zoom. I got his email. You could write to him. I'm sure that'd work.
Perfect, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that was so you knew those folks. You knew the Ratcliffes. You knew Diane. You knew Yvette. They're on the picture I posted. Xavier. Yeah, I don't know if you saw the picture I posted on there. I'll show you this.
Yeah, the four. You had the four of them up there.
Right.
Yvette, Diane, Xavier, and Chris Cavoli.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm stalking you now on Facebook. I don't post anything, but I was stalking you.
Oh yeah. I saw you. I saw that fake name, Susie Jackson. No, but
I've never put my real birthday, but somehow it has it now. So,
well, I mean, you're not like a celebrity Instagram pilot. Here I am.
no,
You know,
I am not that guy at all.
no. I mean, people like their anonymity, but So how long was it before you reconnected with someone from Vicenza once you get back to the States?
Kansas City, never. Oh, wait, I take that back. Jay Frigo. Jay Frigo came through my senior year in high school, so 85. And he was in process on his way to California or something, wherever he was going. And maybe he was driving to Boston because I think that's where he lives now with his wife, married a woman, and started a couple of restaurants. And I've never been able to find him since. But my brother, through Dan, has kept up with Jay. But he was probably my first guy, but he didn't go to our school. He was his Dan's brother.
Mm-hmm.
And we hung out outside of school. But other than that, I don't think I've really run into anybody I've never, except for Chris, behind an airplane and about to go to work. But
Yeah. So we need to bring it all together. Have all the generals and admirals come to your house for hors d'oeuvres, officers club.
I was telling my son, I said, these are just, they're admiral. It's fantastic. The achievements they've achieved, but that's Yvette to me, and it's Diane to me. And, these were just amazing friends from my memory in eighth grade, back in the past that I just love to see again. But then I was thinking about it. I said, can you imagine having an admiral, two generals, a Navy SEAL, at the house, spending a weekend? I said, that's kind of makes for a funny story,
Yeah. It sounds like you're leading into the setup, right?
Yeah, that's
I
right.
mean,
Walk into a bar and
but the crazy thing is, like, okay, we're both former military. We're both proud of our fellow veterans and their accomplishments for sure. And that's what it is. They're like our rock stars. And they're just like, I'm just a person doing my job, probably in their own head, right? I mean, it's like you don't sit there and go, oh yeah, I'm so general-like today, feeling my generalness. But it's not like that. They're just
they achieved what they did because they
they're
never
humble,
they were always the down to earth folks. I mean, Yvette,
humble
Kath,
and focused.
cool people. Yeah. So I'd
It,
love to see.
you didn't know you were in that company. I mean, that's the thing. I had the same effect you do. You're like, wow, all this came out of here. It's like, I mean, if you went to a regular town, Billy worked over at the body shop, Chucky get a job at the car factory, Nancy's a realtor, and so forth. And that's what happened. And Jack, he went off and he went to college and he was going to be a big thing, and now he has an ice cream stand in New York next to the subway. We never knew that would happen. But
I still tell the story. I think it was Steve Gregan. And everybody just talks about it. I mean, he was always, every girl wanted him, loved him and all that stuff. He's a good looking American guy, all that stuff.
he looked like the guy from Blue Lagoon. Let's just say it. He looked from that movie.
I remember I tell a story. I said, people don't get it. He got on stage one night. He was in the theater or whatever he was, and he sang Desperado. It was him and a guitar. And why I remember that, because it was cool. And that's why I told my son, I said, son, you got to learn the guitar. Let me tell you a story about,
Let me tell you about the Steve Gregan technique.
You pick up a guitar and start doing that. Oh my gosh. I want to live vicariously through you, son. Come on. But I couldn't do it. So.
Well, I kind of pulled it off with a tambourine and some disco skates. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, I got some dance moves. That's about all I got. But.
Dance moves, you got to learn to dance, especially in the Navy. You got to, because you don't have much of this. You don't have much of this. So you gotta compensate somehow. Sailors, I knew this. Sailors knew how to dance. And sure,
I want to hear from. You're starting to skip on me. I apologize.
it's okay.
I don't want to talk over you, but I want to hear from Gina Lewis. I want to know. Someone says she's in Phoenix now. Is that what Derek said on his podcast?
I think so. I think she's married to a dentist, and she's living a very happy life. She still looks great. I think I saw her at a reunion. Yeah,
I loved it. She was always a smile on her face, always laughing, always, nothing but pure joy kind of thing. I'd love to hear from her again.
there was Gina and Dina.
Dina.
Yeah,
Matter of fact, I did run into Dina. I was going in '98. We went to American Airlines. We were all trying to get jobs at the time, and a buddy of mine worked there. So how I found out she was in Dallas at the time, in Plano, Texas, and she went out to dinner with a bunch of us. She was working in a law office as a receptionist or something like that. But she was on her way to Vegas. She was moving to Vegas or something with some friends,
that's
and I
fun.
lost contact with her.
You're kind of like in the darkness. You look like the Godfather.
Yeah.
Like you're into the Skeletor look. I'm like, even though you're back there, it's just the way the light goes. I
I'll go
was
back.
like, people are watching this are going, oh, that's when you interviewed the Godfather of Vicenza High School.
Just
Yeah,
don't tell anybody.
I won't tell anybody the truth.
All right, we're
Yeah.
back in the light here, and the air conditioning.
Oh yeah, the air conditioning probably feels good, man. That's what I'm gonna experience coming out to North Carolina is that humidity. I'm gonna go, oh, who slapped me with the wet blanket?
Acclimate. You acclimate. That's why you live on the water.
Well, you get that little breeze, right?
And I wear a Speedo a lot.
Yeah, I'm wearing one right now. I do it for most podcasts.
You just can't see it.
That's just how it works. This is crazy though. It's like, so you're an aviator. Barry Pinicky is an aviator. One of the Goldsteins, Jonathan Goldstein, was aviator too. It's interesting. Somebody told me something that one of our classmates was in Black Hawk Down, and I think Barry was flying over in maybe a P3 Orion or something like, Intel type plane or something flying the surface. So we had
Really?
two VHS members in the middle of that. It's pretty
Wow.
trippy. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, one of those guys, Duran, came and spoke to us on a Warrior Day we had in our squadron in Columbus, and it was an amazing story, by the way, as we all know. But yeah, I didn't know. I mean, you never know who's involved in the middle of all these things with us. I mean, we touch a little bit of everything.
Well, I think that's being launched off the boot that's behind me here. And you're kicked off and kicked in the ass by the boot of Italy. And you fly off into the world to discover who you're going to become. It's kind of like you're primed to do something very interesting. You don't really, and, to me, the States was almost foreign because, I grew up in Italy from age 5 to, 19. I'd go back every couple of years, spend some time there, take that intel back and kind of digest what I thought the States was. But different states, different places, different cultures, you know what I mean? I just watch movies. Good.
It was odd too going back. I took my son for his 3 years ago to England. He wanted to go for his senior year graduation kind of thing. I felt comfortable in Europe. It's the comfort level. Never really lost that comfort level. And, most people are apprehensive and I don't know what to do, where to go and all that stuff, and enjoyed the heck out of it.
Have you been back? I mean, to England, have you been back to Italy or since you get out of the service?
When I got married, my wife wanted to go back. She had never been overseas and everything else. So I still had friends in Germany when they moved to Ramstein out of Rhine-Main. So we flew into Rhine-Main on a Mac charter, matter of fact, had to be Northwest at the time. Then we drove into Ramstein, hung out with some friends, and we caught a C-17 over to Aviano. And we laughed about it. One, it was a prior student of mine in pilot training that I taught, was the co-pilot on that. And then we were sitting there about to rent a car to go down into Vicenza. And I heard this Army guy on the phone over here. He said, yeah, my sponsee didn't, he's sponsoring somebody, went to go pick him up. And it didn't show up, wasn't here. He said, I'm going to drive back to Vicenza. I said, hey, we'll ride with you. My wife said, she tells that story to us. She said, we're going to do what? You don't know who this guy is. I said, he's an Army guy. I know who he is. I know exactly who he is. Maybe I don't know his name and everything else, but I know who he is, And we rode, for that, 3 hours, whatever it was, from Aviano to Vicenza with him. And she still tells that story. I said, you can't do that. I said, that's what we did. We depended on everybody when you're here because we didn't have anything else. So
you were vetted. You were vetted. If you get to Vicenza, you were basically vetted.
That's right.
Well, that's the thing about the military thing. You're like, you're going up to Kansas? Okay, yeah, what do you, yeah, I'm a supply guy. Oh, yeah, I'm work over here. Okay, well, I'll take a ride. It didn't matter. That's like somebody talked about, they was telling their wife, I'm going to reach out. Well, you haven't talked to him in 20 years. I'm like, maybe in the civilian world, that's a common thing. Like if you fall out of touch, that's a dead lead. That's wood. You're not going to call that person and, hi, would you like to join 24-hour fitness? Maybe that's what they think, but no, for us, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's no one that's, not too many people are going to say, no, get the hell out of my life. There's a couple that I don't know what issue, or if they had a bad experience, they just want to bury it. But
Really? That's odd.
yeah, there's some people that, okay, I've met guys that never want to talk about the Navy again. And most of the ship, hangs out and has, meetups and stuff like that. But then there's people that, the same way with high school. They're like, I never want to talk about it again. Nobody knew me. Nobody knows me. And I'm like, what is this? Like, I'm not here vying for a popularity contest. I just want to tell your story,
Well, that's the odd thing about it. I don't know if, I mean, just like me and you, we haven't talked, I mean, well, since you were in seventh grade kind of thing, if we did.
Mm-hmm.
And the point is,
probably hung out at the teen club, played foosball together or something.
Toria Baynard, I don't know if you remember that name. Toria Baynard and I, we auditioned, and we were, every once in a while, we were DJs at the teen club, she and I. We saved every nickel, we buy vinyl and everything else, and we got to do it when Freddie Griffin, Freddie, was that his name?
Yeah, I think so.
When he wasn't DJing, because he was always the cool kid back there doing it all. But Toria Baynard and I did it. So that was a teen club. I was just turned 13. So
yeah, you were like all excited to be the DJ, and you saw those stoplights, those 3 color. I was like, we need strobe lights. Come on, strobe lights. But no, I don't know if you remember. I keep bringing this up to see if anyone remembers. There was some DJ that came in that you had to pay like $5 to get into, or $10. He was a big deal. He had the loudest, like 8 foot tall stacked speakers. His name was Marco Disco. And he was like a German guy, and he's like have fog machines and strobe lights. It was like, he really turned the teen club into like what would later become like a house music festival, in today's times,
I don't remember that. I wasn't cool enough to remember that time.
Well, I was just like, Marco Disco, oh my gosh. And the guy's playing like Godzilla on the ceiling with the movie thing, and there's lights and fog. It's real psychedelic. You're like, wow, the teen club's never been so cool. That was kind of a big deal. But like, so the time you were there was SE. I think we got SEB, but you didn't have it at your house.
No, we did not. Yeah.
No.
I think it was just the year we left. I think we were just getting that one channel, in Villaggio or whatever, that one American channel on the economy. Now we had it, like Monty talked about, in the community room. That's where we used to go watch Dallas, in the community room when we were waiting for Dad to get off work or something. But
yeah, you're like, wow, American television. I can't get enough of this stuff. I remember.
Yeah. And then you come to the States, and that's all you do is watch TV, and kind of sad.
Yeah, that's the end of it. Yep. But they, you can watch it all, and they run out of content. Till you're fully retired, you'd be like, there's nothing left except the Cougar Land podcast that keeps turning out a new episode every day.
It's cool that you're doing this. So it's really cool. I hope you keep it up. And like I said, we all need to volunteer one person next and give you a name. That's what you need to go hunt down.
Yeah, I would hit up Diane for sure. I've talked to her, but I just know that she's deployed, and I'm like, okay, is there any OPSEC rules? And I don't want to do anything off kilter. You know what I mean?
I think they might run into some legality stuff, being a general officer and everything else. I don't know what they can do.
What are you doing? We're gonna reprimand. No, I'm not gonna reprimand a brigadier general that easily. They reprimand themselves. But like, what is this crap you're podcasting? Yeah, the Frontline podcast with the Navy SEAL Team 6. We're over here, and I'm just looking at these bad guys down here from top of the mountain. We're about to move in tonight about 0 dark 30. Yeah, just see this,
It's in the West. What time? Well, I can't tell you that.
We're doing the airborne podcast. We're about to jump out of a plane. I'm here with Billy. So how do you feel about the jump today? Can you imagine that? That can happen. That's what's crazy from the time I was in the service till later, where we had mail call. We didn't have iPhones. We didn't, the computers on the comms were like the teletype stuff and those huge 12-inch discs. It wasn't even, I think my cell phone has more computational power than my ship did in the 80s and the very early 90s, right?
Which is cool nowadays, the level of connectivity that you have and everything else, but somewhat overwhelming at times for a simpleton like moi.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're waiting for mail call. come on. You didn't have a laptop. You only had and we had ship movies. They'd play the movies on the ship. So they'd get good movies. They'd get the stuff coming out in theaters, which was cool. But, you were working 7 days a week,
Yeah.
For months on end. That's the difference. You get to see there's no vacation. I'm going to go hang out on the fantail for a day or two and relax. It's not
I
going to
think
happen.
that's probably why I didn't go with the Navy, because I talked to a lot of buddies of mine that it's work. The guys, especially on the carrier groups and everything, it's 24/7 work. The Army guys are busting their butt. I said Air Force. There you go. That's me.
My buddy went in the Air Force, and I never thought about this, but I was in the pretty harsh kind of alpha term of the Navy. Towards the end of it, probably got more nicer and kinder, I guess. I don't know. But at that time, I think he was in the Air Force, and he and his crew were just stopped off at Diego Garcia, which you may have stopped off at one point in your life.
I know it. Never did it, but yeah, I know it.
So he's over there and he's watching the Navy guys in the chow line, and they're like, "Get in line, seaman. You better get over there." Like they're because you guys were treated like prisoners. I'm hanging out with the officers. We're fraternizing. It's normal. We're like corporate guys from IBM or something. And I'm like, yeah, I guess so. I guess so.
Well, I thought it was funny because we went to Rota, Spain to do maintenance work on our aircraft from Germany. So I ended up breaking there for 2 weeks at one point, and it turned out to be my Finney flight in C-130s because I was just about to PCS back to the States to be an instructor. But there we are. We had our golf clubs with us on the driving range. 2 Air Force guys, of course, brought their golf clubs with them. And we were on the range when Shore Patrol came up and with some guy in civilian clothes, and he came up real aggressively. "Sir, can we speak to you?" I was like, yes. I was like, what did I do last night? I don't remember doing anything wrong last night. And, this is so-and-so from Public Affairs, and they're doing a brochure for Rota, Spain. We'd like to take pictures of you to be on the cover. I said, how perfect is that? 2 Air Force guys playing golf on the cover of Rota, Spain. That's perfect. Apropos.
Well, that was what they used to recruit you anyways.
Hell
Remember that movie, I always laugh when I think about that
Don't
movie.
say Iron Eagle. Don't say Iron Eagle.
No, we're not going Iron Eagle. Private Benjamin, when they're recruiting Goldie Hawn. Oh, look, you have these little yachts, like private yachts. There are these condos. They're talking about the barracks, and it's like the Air Force did have the nicer facilities. It was more of a corporate type operation, I felt. It's not that you guys didn't do important stuff, for sure. It's very important what the Air Force does. It's just that was the level of intensity of your day-to-day drill instructor type yelling and aggression more in the Navy, for sure.
Yeah, but it wasn't in our world.
And the Marines. And then Army, if depending where you're at. You might work in a hospital and it's very professional, but you get out in the infantry and they're hitting you with a stick. Get out there, stay tough, keep you on edge, ready to go to war all the time. So just depends what force you go into. And that's the thing. It's like you get a bigger picture of the military. You don't get it as one guy doing one job initially. It takes a while for your mind to expand and extrapolate how this whole thing works together. You ever notice that? Like you're just solo minded and you didn't realize, oh, wait, there's all these guys working in that building, or there's these ladies working over here or whatever. Like, when did that come to you? Like how big this whole thing was put together? Was it flying and seeing different scenarios or what?
The Operation in Bosnia, that was my first interaction with everybody. I mean, we're working with the Kennedy Group and flying out of Bosnia. Matter of fact, I almost did an approach to the Kennedy Group. We had it all lined up. We were going to do a low flyby and everything else, but then something happened within 200 miles. They kicked us out and said, "Don't come near the group." But I mean, when you're dealing with all that, everybody it was a lot of fun. You saw the purple suit. Everybody was all one uniform at that point. But hey, I want to change gears real quick, Mr. Benante. You said he's still around. Is he in Italy? Where do you know how to get a hold of him?
He's in the States. Somebody mentioned him. So this podcast, they will probably comment and we will get that information for you.
I would love to find him and reach out to him. That'd be fantastic.
That'd be great, huh? Well, I hope that all the brass finds you and comes to your house for a big house party when they get a break on TDY or whatever.
Not just the brass, all of you. Vicenza, if you got a Vicenza in your background kind of thing, I'd love to have you over here and relive the old days kind of thing. It'd be fantastic. And I hope you and your wife make the trek out here sometime. That'd be a lot of fun.
Oh, for sure. Well, you guys, like I said, you have Derek in your backyard and quite a few other people, I think, in Alabama. There's a map. There's a comment in the Facebook where I said, "Where do you live?"
Facebook thing. I got to get on the Facebook thing now. All right. I'll go
No,
look on the.
you're like, I'm going to look. I'm going to find everybody.
You're
Right?
going to force me to use this Facebook thing.
That's how it works. I'm kind of pushy that way.
No, I've been resisting for a lot of years. I don't know why.
Well, this was the thing. This was to get you, this is actually like comfort food for General Del Rosso. She wanted to see you on here. So I figured, hey, I'll get you. I go, who do you want? She goes, I'll get Monty and a few other names. I said, I get not Monty, Cary, my bad.
Interchangeable.
Interchangeable, same guy, different brother. No.
Right. Well, now the gauntlet's been thrown down, so now she needs to come out and visit with you and everything and share her experiences. I'd love to see from her too.
Very impressive woman. We're saying hi to you over there.
I got to tell you right now, I laughed because you rehash all these old memories. I got this yearbook out, which I just happen to have on my shelf, which is weird. And I have a letter from Catherine Offer. I don't know if you can see it. I still have a letter she wrote me when I left at the end of 8th grade. And it was this, and once again, the sweetest letter ever, just of a neat girl content. But rehashing that, love to see her on there too. Love to see Catherine Offer.
We have to find them. We must find them all.
You're the expert at all this, so.
Oh yeah.
It's in your boathouse now. No pun.
My boathouse. You're the one with the boathouse, man. Just because I was in the Navy, I didn't get a boathouse. No, I'm still working on the mess decks. But yeah, I'll do my best to bring people in here, and hope you enjoy this. And special shout out to Diane and Yvette and everybody that you mentioned, and the many other people that will pop up that you'll be like, oh yeah, and that'll happen.
Well, Lynn, thanks for doing this, and it was a lot of fun. And apprehensive, yeah, there was an anxiousness about it and all that stuff, but you made it a lot of fun, and I appreciate it.
No problem.
I hope you continue it.
I will.